Recently, Paris Hilton shared that she is not hiding her ADHD from her kids, and I want to explore what that kind of transparency really means for all of us. Hi friends, I'm Caroline Maguire, and today I want to talk about something a little different, an example of courage that's become a model for many of us with ADHD. When you have ADHD, your brain does not always line up with what people expect. You may hide your traits, edit yourself, and mask for years because you're afraid of being judged. Paris's decision to be open with her children says something powerful. It says that being real matters more than being perfect. And as a parent, I have to tell you, I have always talked to my kids about my brain, their brain. It's just something we talk about. It actually, I think, also makes it much easier when it's time to get people help, when it's time to support them, when it's time to make decisions, because if you understand your brain, you can understand your life. Let's talk about why sharing your ADHD with trusted people is so important and how it can strengthen your authenticity, your relationships, and I would argue your self-worth. Why hiding your ADHD traits hurts more than it helps. If you spent years masking, you know what it's like. Maybe your parents or friends told you to just be quieter or get it together. Maybe you learned that your brain's wiring was something to hide or to correct. That is exhausting. It's very isolating too because you just feel wrong all the time. Paris shared that in her home, she wants her children to know that different doesn't mean broken. And hallelujah. Hiding your brain because you think it's wrong embeds a message of shame. It tells your loved ones, you, and ultimately yourself, that your wiring is a liability, that you're supposed to perform rather than show up. When you decide to share your ADHD with people you trust, several things begin to shift. You give yourself permission to be seen as you are, not half-hidden, not edited, not minimized. You make space for authenticity, connection with people. You create role modeling, not just for your kids, but for your loved ones, for yourself. I would argue for your community and your friends. You show yourself that your brain deserves honesty and respect. You reduce the shame and secrecy because you're no longer pretending that something different isn't there. Paris says that once she started stepping into that transparency, she realized that her brain wasn't a defect, it was a different kind of wiring. She invited her children into the conversation, not because it's easy, but because she believes in the value of truth. And I could not agree more. I also think that statistically, if you have ADHD, you have a very high percentage chance of having a child with ADHD. And I think you can have the conversation in an appropriate way and an age appropriate way. When I work with some little kids who don't know the ADHD label, I call it focus, right? Or I say that, we have this brain. That's why Ned Hollowell's race car brain is so brilliant. How to share your ADHD in a healthy, empowering way. Sharing doesn't mean you broadcast everything to everyone. It means you pick trusted people and communicate in a way that invites understanding, not judgment. So here's how. Choose someone you trust who already values you. And by the way, I make videos about trust, and trust is track record, and trust is how people show up. And I talk about this a lot in my new book that's coming out, Friendship Skills for Neurodivergent Adults. So I'm gonna link to that trust video. Start with one person who has shown respect for you when you've been vulnerable before. You don't have to tell everyone at once. Use your own language. You might say, I've been learning about how my ADHD brain works. When I'm distracted or reactive, it's not that I don't care, it's my brain needing support. That kind of framing invites empathy and understanding. Focus on what makes you, you. Explain how your wiring shows up. Big energy, emotional depth, needing structure, running out of steam. This isn't an excuse, right? It's just context. Express what you need. Perhaps you need clear expectations, gentle reminder, space when you're overwhelmed, someplace to go that isn't so overwhelming. Sharing that helps your loved ones align with you, not against you. And by the way, I'm not delusional. I know that there are some loved ones who aren't safe. And that's why I'm saying pick a safe, trusted person. You don't have to tell everyone. You can tell people who have proven that they can be safe. Celebrate that choice. Every time you share honestly, you're building trust with yourself, with your brain, with your relationships. That's worth recognizing. Why this matters to you, and for them, I would argue. When you stop hiding, you change the story. You tell yourself and the people around you, I am worthy, my brain matters, and you teach those you love that you don't have to pretend under pressure. You show them what whole looks like. Not perfect, just real. In Paris's words, my brain doesn't slow me down, it fuels my creativity. When you live like that, you pass the gift of authenticity forward. If you've been hiding parts of yourself, I totally get it. Editing your pace, your reactivity, your energy. But I want you to know you're not broken. You're not a project. You're not something to be fixed. You're a person who deserves to be known. You don't have to broadcast everything, but you also don't have to live in shame and secrecy. Choose one person, choose a conversation, choose to show up a little more as you are. Drop a comment and let me know what you think. Do you think there is one person in your life you could be authentic with and you could talk to them about your ADHD and feel safe with them? And how do you know that it would work with them? Like, what are the sort of criteria you're using? Please check out my other videos. I really want people to feel safe. The more we feel safe, the more we find our people, the more we find connection, and the more we find self-acceptance, which is my entire goal. Thank you so much. Bye, friends.